Alright, here we're going to look at factoring trinomials. Now we've done factoring trinomials before. On the left side, these would be considered easy trinomials because a equals 1, and these would be considered your hard trinomials where a is bigger than 1. So on the left-hand side, we have a one that we're very comfortable with. We have a degree of 2, and so we're looking for two parentheses where you are multiplying to get the 21 and adding to get the 10. So most of you guys are going to see this. You're going to think, okay, x, 7, 3, because 7 times 3 is 21. The signs in this problem have to be the same. They're both going to be subtraction, and we're done. So x minus 3 times x minus 7 gets the job done. As we progress down to the B problem, the only difference is that now we have a higher degree polynomial. So when we get started setting this polynomial up, in the answer, instead of having just an x, you have x squared. And then the rest of the problem is done exactly the way the A problem was done. What multiplies to give you 24 and subtracts to give you a 2? Okay? So we're looking at a 6 and a 4. 6, 4. Signs are going to be different, and the larger number carries the sign. So therefore, the 6 gets the positive, and the 4 gets subtraction. Now, based on yesterday, we talked about how we have multiple layers of factoring going on here. So we have to recognize that this is still difference of squares, and that we will continue to factor, bringing the x squared plus 6 down, and then split apart the difference of squares into x minus 2 and x plus 2, and we're finally done with that one. So the easy trinomials are only easy because the leading coefficient is 1. As we progress to the C problem, the harder trinomial, some of you guys are going to like the slide and divide method versus the guess and check method. So if you recall, the slide and divide method is going to take the 2 and multiply it by 5. So that's going to give us x to the 4th plus 9x squared minus 10. But keep in mind, you've got to remove that 10. Sorry, you have to remove the 2 later on in the problem. So just like we did a moment ago, we'll have x squared. What multiplies to give you 10? That will subtract to get 9. That'll be a 10 and a 1. The signs are going to be different, and the larger number carries the sign. So the 10 is positive, and the 1 is negative. But now we have to give the 2 back. So the first fraction, or first factor, x squared plus, the 10 is divisible by 2, so we'll call that 5. The 1 is not divisible by 2, so we move the 2 up in the front. We'll call this 2x squared minus 1. Neither one of these parentheses are difference of squares parentheses, difference of squares factoring, so that is the finish of that hard trinomial. And that is factoring trinomials with higher degree. The final way we're going to learn how to factor is called factor by grouping. And factor by grouping works for 4 terms. So that is the last section, okay? It's called factor by grouping. So what we're going to do, there's a few steps here that I want you to write down. Number 1, you're going to group using parentheses the first two terms and the second two terms. So it looks like this. You're going to take x cubed and 5x squared, and you're going to put parentheses around them. And then you're going to put parentheses around 2x and 10. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to factor the GCFs of each parenthesis. So on example A, the GCF is x squared. Inside that parentheses will be x plus 5. The second GCF will be 2, and that is a positive value, 2. Inside the parentheses will be x plus 5. The last step is to write the answer. The answer will look like this. You'll have two parentheses, that's supposed to be green, green. You have two parentheses. In the first parentheses, you'll put your two GCFs. In the second parentheses, you'll notice, hopefully, that you'll see the same thing, x plus 5, x plus 5. So that x plus 5 is what's the same thing. So our answer for problem A takes the two GCFs, x squared plus 2, and the next parentheses will be what is the same. The same is x plus 5. And so now we see how we have two parentheses that are being multiplied together. If we were to FOIL these back, we would get example A. We would get that problem. So moving on to the next one, which is B, which is down below. We start by grouping the first two terms and the second two terms. Pull out your GCF of the first, which would be 2x squared. Remaining inside that parentheses is x minus 4. The next GCF is 3. Inside the parentheses will be x minus 4. If these two parentheses are not the same, you have a problem. Something's wrong. They are supposed to be the same. So we'll write our answer, 2x squared plus 3. These are the two GCFs. And then the second parentheses is what's the same, x minus 4. And so the purple becomes the answer to that problem. Moving on to the C example. GCF, sorry, let me group the second one. Want to make sure that the negative gets grouped with the 9. The GCF is x squared. Inside will be x minus 2. The next GCF is negative 9. And we have x minus 2. Because when we divide by a negative number, that changes the 18 from positive to a negative 2. Please note that I'm not writing in purple because we're not done with this problem. X squared minus 9. Parentheses, x minus 2. We should see here that this is difference of squares. You have to recognize when something is difference of squares because that means you have a multiple layers of factoring and you have to continue. So we finish this up with an x plus 3, x minus 3. and x minus 2. So our final example, D, group them together. Make sure this negative gets looped into the parentheses. GCF 4x squared, leaving us with x plus 4. GCF is negative 1. There's always a greatest common factor, even if it's a 1. In the factor by grouping, you have to pull out a GCF. By pulling out a negative, it changes both of those signs so that the two parentheses are the same. We are not going to be done with this problem because 4x squared minus 1 is a difference of squares and will have to continue to be factored. So we finish this up. 2x plus 1, 2x minus 1, and the last parenthesis, x plus 4. So that is factor by grouping for higher degree polynomials.